pranams at the lotus feet of our Divine Mother Sai, and Om Sai Ram, and welcome to this episode. Dare to be Divine. This podcast series is in collaboration with Our Ladies Wing of the Sri Sathya Sai Global Council, South Africa. So in this episode with me today, I have Sister Rubian, and she is going to tell us a little bit about herself. Sairam, Sister Rubian, and welcome to this episode. Tell me a little bit about yourself, and and that's how we'll get started with this episode.
Om Sai Ram Naranya, Om Sai Ram to the viewers. My humble pranams at the lotus feet of Swami. My name is Rubiendri Naika. I started off my career as a teacher, and thereafter I moved to be a manager at a training company, which we ran, my husband and myself, and thereafter I moved on to the university where I am presently working. With regard to my involvement in the Sathya Sai organization, I was very much a devotee in the early years. Thereafter, I was involved in the Education and Human Values project in the Sathya Sai school in Zambia. That was the start, where we worked on a project, and while I was involved in that project, I developed a manual for the program, Water, Sanitation and Hygiene. I developed lesson plans in which I integrated the 5 human values into the lesson plans so that the program, the project, would be able to inculcate values into the entire mission of water, sanitation and hygiene in many countries in Africa. Thereafter, I was involved in the Sathya Sai school in South Africa, working with my husband, Segi Naika, who was a director at that time, and that was a very fulfilling experience for me as well.
Alright, that's so interesting. So it seems like you have a very full life. So how is it that you still maintain this connection with Swami, and how does Swami fit into your daily life?
I think, the first thing, Swami has given us so many tools in order to keep us on the spiritual journey, and I think that it's important for us to look at the bouquet of tools that are available and try and see what resonates with us, and after that you find that you use those to form a compass in your life, a blueprint for your life. And if you're in doubt, I think you could just ask Swami, are you happy with the decision that I'm making? And as I moved on in life, I feel that it's just a feeling that I have, whether I'm on the right path or not. And I think that as you get into your spiritual practices, your intuition becomes very, much deeper, and then you are able to get messages quicker as to whether your decision is the right one or not.
Okay, that's quite interesting. So we as young adults in the organization, always looking for inspiration and advice, taking up this role as a young adult coordinator. What advice would you have for other younger women in the organization to say, take on this role, because there is some sort of fulfillment that comes with it, and this is like Swami's guidance, to us. So what would be your advice to the other younger women in our organization?
I think that you should embrace whatever opportunities come your way, because I believe that whatever comes into your life path is for your benefit, for your growth. And it's only when we get involved, we get experiences, and experiences is what teaches us to become better people. And when you're in the organization, you always have the guiding force in your life, which is Swami. And everything that you do, you center this around him, his teachings, and you are able to enact your activities in that way. That doesn't mean that you are going to do everything in perfection, because we are all work in progress. But you have to have that commitment and dedication, in moving forward. And I think that for me, I used the process of reflection and self-awareness all the time, and using Swami's teaching against the background to find out how I was doing. And I think opportunities like this to serve, you're going to be involved with people. People are coming with all different personalities, and it is a good experience for you to refine yourself.
Okay, so you've told us that currently you work in the university. Which university is that you're working at?
This is the University of KwaZulu-Natal.
Okay, so in your job, how is it as a leader? How is it that you are able to follow a dharmic life?
I think that all the teachings of Swami that I have, experienced from the time of going to Shanti several times, listening to talks, reading spiritual literature, I have formed a blueprint in which I live my life based on that. And I use that as a compass for my life and going forward. Was this for me to relate to the university, Aranya?
No,
Yes. I think that Swami's teachings have definitely provided me with a compass.
So, what's your normal? What do you have in your cup in the morning? What preps you in the morning? What keeps you going?
I would say that I've embarked on a change in my lifestyle. I do intermittent fasting. So I start off my day with a cup of coffee with cream. I think I must really give gratitude to my husband who makes this very lovingly every day for me. This keeps me going until the first meal of the day, which is lunch.
Okay, I think I'm also going to give that a try, as the summer is around the corner. So maybe intermittent fasting might be the way to go. So, always people are interested in knowing your experience or knowing your story, and a lot of the times this inspires others. So, I'd like to know, how is it that you came to know Swami? If you can give us a short version. I know sometimes that's not so possible, but if you could tell us, how did you come to meet Swami or to know Swami?
I think I came to know Swami through my aunt, Auntie Joy, who started on this journey many years ago, and she went for a trip to India, and when she came back she brought a coconut with her, and when she broke the coconut, vibhuti started coming out of the coconut. This was very early on in my life, and a lot of people were drawn to her home because of this miracle. And thereafter I found Sai Bhajans to be one of the most endearing things that I could ever experience, and that was primarily what I had experienced. And then it was starting reading Swami's books and literature, and I can't even recall the amount of books. At one time it just became like an addiction. I just wanted to read every book that was available to me, and after that there was no turning back. I can't just say how grateful I am to have had Swami in my life. He has really given me, a direction that I'm so confident about, because I know it's coming from him. And I cannot imagine what would I have done without all his teachings that provided me a platform, in which to live my life. So I'm really grateful for that.
Thank you for sharing that, and I'm sure it's going to be an inspiration to everyone viewing this out there, including myself. So they say behind every successful man there's a very hard-working woman. Not to say that you're also not so successful yourself. So who has been some of the role models for you, or who are some of the women or people that have inspired you to be who you are?
I think maybe, as I just mentioned, that I worked in the Sai school in Zambia, and we spent quite a lot of time there. And I spent time with Mrs. Genevieve Kanu, and what I saw in action was 100% faith and devotion to Swami. And another thing that was very inspiring was self-sacrifice. personal self-sacrifice where they sold all their belongings to come and start the Sathasai school in Zambia. And that, I think, would be a very big test for any of us. And it's constantly, reaching out for Swami's guidance. So much so that every trip they went to Krishanti, whether it was even twice a year, Swami would afford them an interview. And I was, I could just sit and listen to all those experiences, first-hand experiences, on the kind of interactions that went on between her and Swami. And that really, really inspired me and showed me the pathway for what is true faith and devotion in Swami. And there were other people. I think I would be remiss not to mention my mum, who is a fiercely independent woman. She taught me endurance, perseverance, resilience, and I have drawn so much from her in the way I live my life. It's because of her role modeling and example. When my back is against the wall, I know how to come through those experiences. So I would give her credit for that. I think I'm also drawn to women that are very much involved in empowerment of the woman. And I think I would mention Oprah Winfrey, who came through a very difficult life, and she was able to triumph against all the adversity. And what I really admire about her is a quest for personal growth. And she has brought spirituality to the mainstream media. All her podcasts are on spirituality, bringing in different inspirational writers, speakers, and we are able to draw something from all of them. I think the person that I'm very much right now, maybe it's because of Women's Month, I'm listening to many podcasts of Louise Hay. She started Hay House Publishing House that publishes lots of inspirational books. And she's an advocate of self-love. And what I admire is that she cured herself from cancer, just working on herself, transforming herself, and working through her past traumas and issues that she experienced in her life. And I think it's because we really need to understand that having taken this incarnation, life is not easy. From the time we've grown up, we have gone through challenges. And if we do not work through whatever challenges that we've had in our life, we really do not free ourselves to even grow spiritually. From my experience, I feel that if that peeling of that onion, if you do not clear yourself from those, your spiritual journey is hampered somewhat. So once you clear the pathway for yourself, you find meditation becomes easier and your ability to develop your intuition is easier. So you are able to hear the inner voice, more clearly. So I think for me, that's what she brings to me.
That's so amazing, so inspiring. So, Swami's always said how important women are in our society. And he went on once to say that women should be revered. From ancient times, the feminine aspect of the divine has been worshipped in various ways. And even the Veda declares that where women are honored and esteemed, their divinity is present with all its potency. And unfortunately, today, we see that there's a demeaning to honor of women, and this mistaken attitude is a sign of ignorance. So, in today's society, it is polluted because there's no encouragement for women to cultivate such high ideals. And in modern times, the ways of life are so perverted that only evil thoughts, evil feelings, and evil behavior rule the roost. So that comes to my next question, which is a pandemic that we have in our country at the moment, and I think the world at large, which is gender-based violence. So what is your viewpoint on this? Because I think it's Women's Month and it's important to shed some light on this topic. So what is your views on this, and how can we play a part, be it small or whatever, what can we do to help this situation? Because Swami's given us this organization and this voice So what can we do with it?
I think, women, just the discourse around gender and the way women are positioned in society. I think I grew up around being socialized into also realizing that women were, we were like lesser than men. But for me, having had Swami, who I look up for my pathway in life, when at Prashanti, Swami gave a talk and he said, men and women are equal. For me, that was the most refreshing something that I ever heard, because it was coming from him. And that gave me the inner confidence as a woman, because I knew that where I was positioned in relation to men. With regard to gender-based violence, it is a huge concern at the moment, and it's very disturbing because it's escalating. And I think, having a patriarchal society, the way women are positioned, I think that's got a lot to do with the perceptions of women, in society. And that is why men have come to perceive women as being lesser or as being something of a possession. Now, what's disturbing for me also is that the women that are succumbing to violence are university graduates, women that are educated, and most of the gender-based violence seems to be in intimate relationships. So I think that more has to be done in the way of awareness, like what we are doing here today. And I think more has to be done for these issues to be brought in the forefront in curriculum at schools. And at the moment, the university, they have realized this. Lots of spaces this is being discussed, and modules are being developed so that the university students can, the awareness can be brought to them as well. And I think spiritual organizations, there's a lot of information in social media that we could reach out to that can bring this awareness as well. But I think women empowerment is the way to go, because women need to develop themselves, they need to develop their self-confidence, self-esteem, and to seek positive role models so that they'll be able to see these red flags when they are in these relationships. And they will have to build a support system around them so that they will have somewhere to go. And once a woman develops her strength, she will not feel so vulnerable and will be able to cope better. So I think instead of blaming the men who are perpetuating this at the moment, I think there's a lot of responsibility on young women as well to develop themselves so that they will be able to be stronger in the face of these circumstances.
100%. I fully agree with what you had to say. On a light-hearted note, from personal, because I know you, I know that you love to cook. So what's the bhajan that you hum? Maybe what's the bhajan you're humming right now? Maybe changes, or what's your favorite bhajan that you like to hum while you're in the kitchen?
I'm not one who would sing a bhajan while I'm cooking, but for me, cooking is a very spiritual experience, and I make sure that I'm feeling very centered and pleasant when I'm cooking. I won't put my stove on if I'm not feeling balanced. But if I have to reach for a bhajan, what I know is that I also change with my favorite bhajans. Maybe it's a season of my life. At the moment, it's Mahadeva Maheshwara, Sai Narayana, and Janani Ma.
Okay. So thank you so much for coming and making this time to sit with me today and in conversation with me. And I hope that all you viewers out there were inspired and took some lessons from what we had to say today. So tune in to next week, and that will be our final episode. Loving Sai Rams, and thank you very much.